The barn door slammed open so hard it near split its hinges, and Jack Callahan's rifle was up before his eyes adjusted to the dark. There, buried in the hay, lay a little girl no bigger than a lamb, her dress torn, blood caked at her temple, her tiny fingers locked white around a leather satchel. "Don't let them take it," she whispered. Then her eyes rolled back. Before we begin, please subscribe, ring the bell, and tell us in the comments what town you're watching from tonight. I want to know how far this little girl's story travels. Jack lowered the rifle, slow, his breath knotted up in his chest. She hadn't moved. A shallow rise at the ribs. That was all. "Lord in heaven," he muttered. He dropped to a knee beside her. Up close, she was smaller than he'd thought, 5, maybe 6, with blonde hair matted to her forehead and a fresh cut at the temple still seeping. "Little one." His voice came out gravel. He softened it the way a man soothes a spooked horse. "Can you hear me, darlin'?" A whimper. Barely a sound. "Easy now. Easy." He hovered his hand above her shoulder and couldn't quite make himself lower it. It had been 3 years since he'd touched another living soul with any gentleness, and his fingers had forgotten the shape of it. "I ain't gonna hurt you. You understand, ain't nobody gonna hurt you in this barn." Her fingers were clamped on the satchel, like a trap that had snapped shut and forgotten how to open. Old leather heavy with the edges gone soft from years of handling. He reached to ease it free. Her grip tightened. "No," she breathed. "No, sir, no." All right, you keep it. You keep it close, darlin'." Her eyes opened a sliver. Blue. Storm blue. She looked up at him, and something inside Jack's chest, something he'd spent 3 long years piling stones on top of, cracked right down the seam. "Mama said," she whispered, "ride to the man with the white barn. He'd know." Jack went still. "Who told you that, sweetheart?" "Mama. And where's your mama, child?" Her mouth opened. The words wouldn't come. Her eyes rolled up under the lids, and the little body went limp. No, don't you quit on me. Don't you quit on me, you hear?" He slid his arms under her. She weighed nothing. Less than a yearling calf. Less than a full water bucket. "I've got you. I've got you now, little one." He ran for the house, her blood soaking warm into his sleeve. He kicked the front door open with his boot, laid her on the settee by the cold hearth, and kept one hand pressed to her temple while he fumbled for a clean rag. "Don't die. Don't you die. Not in this house. Not in this house." He'd said those same 4 words to another person once a long time back. The person had died anyway. Jack had not spoken them since. They tasted like rust in his mouth now. The wound wasn't deep. That was something. Head wounds always bled ugly. He pressed the rag, counted to 100, pressed harder. She was burning up. He could feel the fever coming off her cheek, like heat off a stovepipe. He had to ride for Doc Harlan. He stood, sat back down, stood again. Son of a... He couldn't leave her, but he couldn't not leave her. The nearest neighbor was a widow too frail to fetch, and the nearest hand who owed him a favor was 2 hours out in the wrong direction. "You listen to me," he said to the unconscious child. "You listen good. I'm riding for the doctor. I'll be back 'fore the sun shifts. You stay breathin'. That's all I'm askin' of you. You stay breathin', and I'll do the rest." He checked the doors, front-back cellar, latched the shutters, propped his second rifle beside the settee within her reach, not that a girl her size could lift it. It made him feel better to do it anyway. Then he rode. He rode harder than he'd ridden in 3 years. He rode like a man riding out of something rather than toward it. Doc Harlan was a bald, stump-armed old man who'd delivered half the county and buried the other half, and he didn't ask Jack a single question on the ride back. "Later," he said, when Jack opened his mouth. "Tell me later, son." He didn't even dismount proper when they got to the house, just slid off his mule and pushed past Jack through the door. "Lord have mercy," Doc murmured when he saw her. "How long she been like this? Hour, maybe 2. Where'd you find her? barn, hay pile, curled up like a kitten. She say anything. Said her mama told her to come to the man with the white barn. Said don't let them take it. Jack jerked his chin at the satchel which the child still clutched, even in unconsciousness. Won't let go of that? Oh. Doc was already unbuttoning the little dress at the neck, peering at the wound. He grunted. Concussion most likely. She's half-starved, Jack. When's the last time this child ate week longer? I don't know. I don't know a thing about her. Well, somebody knows something. Somebody laid hands on this child. Doc pushed back a sleeve. Jack looked. There was a ring of bruising at the little wrist, yellowed and old, the kind of mark a grown man's grip leaves. Jack's jaw set. Who'd do that? He said, voice flat as a board. You've been in this county longer than me, son. You know who does that. I've been shut up on this ranch 3 years. I don't know nothing anymore. Well, Doc kept working. You're about to. He pulled a small glass bottle from his bag, uncorked it, wet a clean cloth. The child's nose wrinkled. Her head rolled. That's it, Doc murmured. That's it, little miss. Come on back to us now. Her eyes opened. She looked at the ceiling, then at Doc, then at Jack. And then she started to cry, not loud, not the way a child her age ought to cry. Quiet, choked, like somebody had taught her crying was a thing that could get you killed. Mama's gone, she whispered. Jack felt the floorboards shift under him. What, darlin'? Doc said gently. What did you say? Mama's gone. They came and Mama told me to run. Through the kitchen. She said, run, Emily. Run to the man with the white barn and don't look back. Emily. Doc's voice was soft as wool. Emily, is that your name? She nodded once. Emily who came? Sweetheart. Her mouth closed. Her eyes went wide and wet and empty, and she looked so exactly like a hunted animal that Jack had to turn his head. She's spent, Doc said. Don't push her. Not yet. Doc. Not yet, Jack. She'll tell us when she can. Jack walked to the window and braced both hands on the sill. He didn't look out. He just stood there, knuckles white on the wood. Doc. I hear you. Name Sarah Carter mean anything to you? Doc went still. Then slowly, analyst woman. Bookkeeper for the land office 2 counties over. Yeah, I know the name. She was found in the creek below Bannock Ridge 3 weeks back. Ruled a drownin'. I recall it. You believe it? Silence. I do not, Doc said. Jack, son, is this who I think this is? Jack didn't answer right away. He was looking at the little girl on his settee, her blonde hair damp on his pillow, her small hand still knotted on the strap of that satchel. Emily Carter, he said finally. Lord have mercy. Doc stayed the night. He slept upright in the kitchen chair with his feet on a stool, and Jack didn't sleep at all. The child stirred twice. The second time she said mama again, but the first time she just whimpered and went quiet. Jack sat on the floor beside the settee with his rifle across his knees. He'd forgotten in 3 years what it was to be afraid for somebody else. He'd been afraid for himself plenty. That was a clean fear, a manageable one. This was something different. This climbed up a man's throat and sat there and didn't move. Dawn came gray. Doc stirred, groaned, stretched. How's she breathing, sweatin' less? That's a start. Doc came over, pressed the back of his hand to her cheek. Fever's breakin'. She's a tough little thing. Doc. Jack kept his voice low. You can't tell nobody. Who'd I tell Jack, my mule? You know what I mean. Doc looked at him. 70 years of weariness in the look. I know what you mean. I won't. I got to think. I got to hoofbeats. Both men's heads came up. Not one rider. 2. Coming easy. Not in a hurry. That was worse than in a hurry. Jack was on his feet, rifle up, moving to the window in 3 strides. Back room, he hissed to Doc. Take her. Go. Jack. Go. Doc scooped the child she barely woke and disappeared into the back
This
of the
story
house.
was posted on the channel
Jack
The
drew a
Rusty
long
Saddle.
breath,
Please
let
do
half
not
of it out,
repost it
and
in any
opened the front
form.
door before the riders could knock. Two men on the porch. One was big heavy through the shoulders, wearing a duster cleaner than any duster ought to be this far from town. The other was smaller, leaner, with a smile laid on top of his face like a coat of whitewash. "Mornin'," the smaller one said. "You'd be Mr. Callahan, I reckon." "I'd be." "Name's Riggs. This here's my associate, Mr. Bow. We're riding for Mr. Hale's interests down the valley. You know the name?" Jack kept his face empty. "Heard it. Fine man, businessman, a philanthropist, some might say." "Some might?" Riggs smiled a little wider. "Sir, there's a matter of a missing child. Little girl 5 years old, yellow hair. Her mother passed tragic thing, and the child's been wandering since. Mr. Hale's sponsoring the search out of Christian charity, you understand." "Christian charity," Jack echoed. "That's right. And you rode all the way to my door because we're riding every door, sir. Every ranch, every homestead. Child could be anywhere." Riggs let the smile go small. "You seen her?" "No. Not a sign. Not a sign. Horses come through your property, strangers. Mister, I ain't seen another soul in 2 weeks except the doc in there who come to pull a bad tooth." Riggs glanced past Jack's shoulder. Jack didn't move. "Mind if we take a look in your barn?" the big one said. First words out of him. His voice was deeper than a dry well. "I do mind." Bo shifted. Riggs raised a hand without turning. "Sir," Riggs said, "we mean no trouble. A little girl's life." "Then you'll go find her somewhere else," Jack said, "because she ain't in my barn, and I don't let strange men wander my property uninvited. My neighbors know I'm a peaceable man, less I'm crossed. I'd hate for today to be the day I'm crossed." There was a beat of perfect silence. Then Riggs laughed. It was a laugh with no joy in it anywhere. "Course, sir, course. We understand." He tipped his hat. "But if you do hear tell of this child, any whisper, any rumor, you ride into town, and you ask for Mr. Hale. There's a reward, sir. A generous one. Generous enough to put a man's ranch square in the black for a year or two." Jack said nothing. "You have yourself a fine day, Mr. Callahan." They rode. Jack stood in the doorway until they were past the gate, past the cottonwoods, past the bend in the road. Then he shut the door and slid the bolt and stood with his forehead against the wood. "Doc," he said. Doc came out carrying Emily, who was awake now, pressed to his shoulder with her face in his collar. "They gone?" "They're gone. For now. They'll be back." "I know they will." Doc laid Emily back on the settee. She was shivering, though the room was warm, and her fingers had found the satchel again and reclamped around it. Jack crouched down, so their eyes were level. "Emily." She looked at him. The blue eyes were clearer now. Not well, nowhere close to well, but present. "Emily, my name is Jack Callahan. You know that name?" A small nod. "Your mama told you." Another nod. "When did she tell you, darlin'?" "Lots of times," the child whispered. She said over and over, "Ride to the man with the white barn. His name is Jack. He was a friend." Jack closed his eyes. He had not seen Sarah Carter in 6 years. 6 years. He'd been an investigator in Cheyenne. She'd been the bookkeeper who'd come to him about a cattleman cooking his ledgers. They'd spent 3 weeks working the numbers. They'd become friends, and near enough to more. Then life had turned its wheel as life does, and he'd gone one way, and she'd gone another. He hadn't known she had a child. "Your mama was right to send you here, Emily." His voice cracked a little, and he let it. "You hear me, darlin'? She was right to send you." "Is she comin'?" He looked at the child. The child looked at him. He couldn't. Not now. Not yet. "We'll talk about Mama soon," he said soft. "Right now I need you to help me with something. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir." "You brought this satchel. You brought it a long way, didn't you?" "Yes, sir." "Who'd Mama say it was for?" "For you." "For me. She said give it to the man with the white barn and tell him they're killing people for it." Doc made a low sound in his throat. Jack swallowed hard. "Can I look inside, Emily?" The little fingers trembled on the strap. Then slowly she pushed the satchel an inch toward him across her lap. He opened it. A ledger, old and plain. He flipped the cover back. Columns, dates, initials, dollar amounts, some of them staggering. And beside each entry in a small, careful hand, he suddenly remembered from 6 years past, Sarah's hand, a single letter. H, 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 H. He flipped another page. Another. The numbers went back 2 full years. Not small money. Not even big money. Empire money. "Emily," he said quietly, "did your mama teach you what these numbers mean?" "Not all," she said, "but some." "Some. She said I had to learn. She said if something happened to her, somebody had to remember. She said grown-ups forget. She said little kids don't forget if they're told right." Jack looked at her. "How old are you, darlin'?" 5 3/4. He almost laughed, not because it was funny, because something in him was going to break otherwise. "And what did she teach you, Emily?" The child took a breath. For a moment, she looked less like a child, and more like a very small scholar reciting a lesson in a schoolroom. "The H is a man. His name starts with H. He has a big house in town, and 3 more houses. He takes land that isn't his. He pays the judge. The judge's name is on page 9. He pays the sheriff in another county. That name is on page 12. Mama wrote it all down in the little letters so nobody would know they were names." Doc sat down heavily in the kitchen chair. He said nothing. "Mama said—" Emily's voice wavered for the first time. "Mama said if you follow the numbers, you'll find the truth." Jack sat on the floor. Just sat. His hand on the ledger. His eyes on the little girl who was 5 3/4 and had memorized an entire system of corruption because her mother had known she was going to be killed for it. "Emily." "Yes, sir." "You're the bravest person I have ever met." She didn't smile. 5 3/4 years old, and she didn't know how to smile at a compliment anymore. "Are they going to kill me too?" she asked, and her voice was so calm it near broke him in half. Jack looked at her a long moment. "No," he said. "No, ma'am. They are not." He set the ledger down careful as a loaded gun. He stood. He looked at Doc. "Doc, I need you to ride back to town today. Just today. Nothing unusual. You came out to pull a bad tooth, you went home. Tell no one. Not the mercantile boy, not your wife, not your horse. You understand me?" "I understand." "Come back tomorrow sundown. Come alone. Bring what she'll need for 2 weeks." 2 weeks for what, Jack? Jack looked at Emily. Emily was already watching him with those prairie sky eyes like she understood every word the grown men were saying. "I don't know what 2 weeks for," Jack said. "I just know 2 weeks." Doc nodded, stood, picked up his bag. At the door he paused. "Jack." "Yeah." "You've been shut up in this house 3 years." "I know it. Why are you opening the door now?" Jack looked at the little girl with the satchel in her lap and the ledger beside her, and her mother's voice still living somewhere behind her eyes. "Because she knocked Doc," Jack said. Doc nodded once and was gone. Jack slid the bolt behind him. He turned. Emily was watching him. "Mr. Callahan." "Jack, darlin'. You call me Jack." "Jack." "Yeah." "My mama, before she said run, she said you were a good man. She said you were a good man who got tired of being good." He had to look at the floorboards for a minute. "She said that, did she?" "Yes, sir." "Well, she was half right." "Which half?" He lifted his head. He looked at this child, 5 3/4 bruised at the wrist, bleeding at the temple, sitting on his settee, with a dead woman's evidence clutched in her lap, and he felt the 3 years of dust he'd poured over himself shift and begin finally to fall away. "The tired part, sweetheart," Jack Callahan said. She was right about the tired part. He sat down on the floor beside the settee. He laid his rifle across his knees, and he kept his watch hour after hour.
This story was
as the
posted
little
on the
girl
channel
who had
The
carried
Rusty
$1
Saddle.
million
Please
secret
do not
across
repost
God
it
knew
in
how
any
many
form.
miles of Wyoming prairie fell at last into the first real sleep she had known in 3 long hunted weeks. The fire had burned down to coals when Emily stirred again. Jack heard it before he saw it, a sharp intake of breath, the kind a child makes when the dream catches up to her in her sleep. He was at the settee before her eyes opened. Easy, easy, darling. You're here. You're with me. Mama. I know. I know. She sat up too fast, and her hand went to her temple, and she made a small wounded sound, and he caught her shoulder steady before she tipped. Slow, Emily. Slow. They were at the door. Who was? The men. The men with the clean coats. They came and they went, sweetheart. They're gone. They'll come back. Yes, he said, because he wasn't going to lie to her. Not once. Not ever. They'll come back, and I'll be ready when they do. She searched his face. 5 3/4, and she searched a grown man's face like a card shark reading a table. You got a gun, she said. I got 3. Mama had one under the porch step. Did she now? She said if the door broke, I was to crawl under the porch and hold the gun with both hands and not come out. He sat down on the settee beside her, slow so he wouldn't spook her. Did you do that, Emily? The door broke. Did you crawl under? Yes, sir. Did you hold the gun? Yes, sir. Did you fire it? A long pause. She looked down at her small hands. I couldn't, she whispered. It was too heavy. Emily! Mama screamed, and I couldn't. Emily, look at me. Look at me, darling. She looked. A 5-year-old girl ain't supposed to fire a gun. You hear me? Ain't supposed to. That ain't what you were there for. You were there to do exactly what you done, which is carry this satchel across God knows what to a white barn 100 miles out. That is what you were there for. And you did it. You hear me? Her chin shook. I hear you, she said. All right then. He let a beat pass. Then another. Emily, I'm going to ask you something hard. Okay. The men who came. Did you see 'em? Through the slats, under the porch. How many? 3. 3. He kept his voice level. You remember what they looked like? One was tall, one was fat, one had... She paused, her small face screwed up with the work of remembering. One had a line. A line. On his face. Here. She drew a finger from her eyebrow down past the corner of her mouth. A long line. Jack went still. A scar, you mean, like a cut that healed. Yes, a scar. Long one, down the cheek. Yes, sir. He didn't move for a full 10 seconds. Jack, she said. Your face went funny. Did it? Do you know him? He stood up. He walked to the window. He walked back. He crouched in front of her. Emily, I need you to tell me everything you remember about the man with the scar. Everything, darling. Don't leave a thing out. He was the boss. How do you know he was the boss? Because the other two didn't do anything till he pointed. He pointed at Mama, and the tall one grabbed her. He pointed at the kitchen, and the fat one broke the door. He didn't talk much. When he talked, he was quiet. Emily, did he say anything at all you can remember? He said, find the book. That's what he said. Find the book, or we go back empty. Jack put a hand over his mouth. And then Mama said, Emily, run, and I crawled out the back of the porch through the hole where the board fell off last winter, and I ran. Good girl, Emily. Jack, do you know him? He lowered his hand from his mouth. I might, he said. I just might, darlin'. Is he a bad man? He is a very bad man. Will you tell me his name? He looked at her a long, long time. Not yet, he he said. "Not till I'm certain. A man's name is a dangerous thing to put on the wrong face. You understand?" "Yes, sir." "Good." He stood up. He went to the little table where he'd laid the ledger. He opened it near the back, where the entries thinned out and the ink was fresher. He knew what he was looking for, and he dreaded finding it. He found it on the second-to-last page. A single line, a date 3 weeks old, a figure in the thousands, and beside it, in Sarah's careful schoolhouse hand, 3 letters instead of 1. M-C-H. He sat down in the chair. He said a word Emily shouldn't have heard. "Jack?" "Sorry, darlin', sorry." "What does it say?" "It says—" He closed his eyes a moment. "It says your mama was finishing a piece of work I started 6 years back and gave up on. It says I knew one of the men who came to your door. And it says I should have finished what I started when I had the chance." She didn't understand half of it. She understood all of what mattered. "It's not your fault, Jack." He looked at her. "Don't you say that to me, Emily. Don't you ever say that to me. Mama said blame is a useless— Your mama was a better person than I will ever be. Your mama was wrong about exactly one thing in her whole life, and that was trustin' that I was still the man she knew. She was right, though. Emily. She was right. You opened the door." He had no answer for that. He sat with the ledger in his lap, and no answer at all. Then the dog barked. Jack was on his feet with the rifle in his hand before the second bark came. "Under the settee, Emily, now." But now. She slid to the floor and rolled under and was gone like she'd practiced it. Maybe she had. Jack moved to the side of the window, one eye to the gap. A single rider, coming slow. Not from town, from the ridge road the back way, the way a man comes when he does not want to be seen coming. The rider was small, thin, hat pulled low. Jack waited. The rider pulled up 50 yards out and sat the horse and did not come closer. That was when Jack recognized him. "I'll be hanged," he breathed. He set the rifle down. He opened the door. He stepped out onto the porch and he raised one hand, slow palm out. "Tom," he called. "Tom Beasley, you old goat, is that you?" "It's me," the rider called back. "Don't shoot me, Jack." "Come in then. Come in quick." The rider nudged the horse forward. He was a small, wiry man, maybe 60 years old, with a face like a dried apple. He rode up to the porch and did not dismount. "Jack," he said. "Tom." "You got a child in that house." Jack's hand drifted back toward the rifle leaning against the doorframe. "Easy," Tom said. "Easy, son. I didn't ride an hour through scrub to turn a child in." "How'd you know?" "Because Doc Harlan come through my place this morning on his way home. And Doc Harlan never comes through my place. And because Doc Harlan asked me how my tooth was, and my tooth has been fine for 11 years. And because a man don't send that kind of signal, less he's got something he wants a friend to know without saying it." Jack let out a slow breath. "Get down, Tom. Come inside." Tom came inside. He stopped 2 steps past the door and took his hat off and held it against his chest. He looked at the settee. He looked under the settee. "Hello, little miss," he said, gentle as a man coaxing a barn cat. "I ain't here to hurt you. I'm a friend of Mr. Callahan. Name's Tom." Emily didn't come out. Jack crouched by the settee. "Emily, this here's a friend. You can come on out." She came out. She came out with the satchel. Tom looked at the satchel. He looked at Jack. He looked back at the satchel. "Jack?" "I know." "Jack, the whole county's lit up. Every hand at the Hale spread rode out at dawn. They're saying it's a search for a lost child. Ain't a man I know believes it." "How many men?" 20. Maybe more, split into pairs, working a grid. "They been to your place. Dawn. 2 of 'em. I told 'em I'd seen a child 2 days back walking south toward the Platte with a peddler. They took it down and rode off." "You lied for me, Tom." "I lied for her." Tom nodded at Emily. "You I'd lie for on credit. Her I'd lie for free." Jack couldn't quite speak for a moment. "You always were a better man than me, Tom." "No, Jack. Just an older one. Tom crouched down, knees popping, so he was eye level with Emily. Little miss, how old are you? 5 3/4.
This
5
story was
3/4.
posted on the channel
Tom
The Rusty
nodded
Saddle.
as if this were
Please
a
do
serious
not
and
repost it
respectable
in any
age.
form.
What's your name? 5 3/4, Mio. Emily. Emily, that's a fine name. Mr. Callahan's taking good care of you. She nodded. He feedin' you? She looked at Jack. I ain't yet, Jack admitted. Doc said go slow. I was gonna warm some broth. Jack, for God's sake. Tom straightened up. I'll warm the broth. You stand at the window. Go on, Tom. Go on, son. Jack went to the window. Tom warmed broth in the kitchen. Emily watched him with the flat, careful eyes of a child deciding whether a new person was safe. Tom whistled while he worked soft and tuneless, the way a man whistles when he wants a small animal to know he is not hunting. After a while, Emily said, Mr. Tom? Yes, ma'am. Do you know a man with a long line on his face? Tom's whistling stopped. The wooden spoon paused over the pot. Jack turned from the window. Emily, Jack said, let Mr. Tom think on that one a minute. But Tom was already turning. His apple-dried face had gone still. Child, he said, where'd you see such a man? At my house, the night Mama went away. Tom looked at Jack. McCready, Tom said. Yeah, Jack said. That's what I was afraid of. McCready's dead, Jack. Been dead 2 years. They buried him in the Cheyenne yard. They buried somebody. Jack. They buried somebody's Tom. I went to that service. I watched 'em lower the box. I never asked to see the face. Neither did anyone else on account of the fire. You're saying. I'm saying Sarah Carter was working my old case. I'm saying the man who killed her has a scar from his eye to his mouth. I'm saying Reuben McCready had exactly that scar. And I'm saying a man with the kind of friends McCready had could put any body he pleased in a pine box and walk away a dead man with a new name. Tom sat down heavy in the kitchen chair. Lord have mercy. Jack, if McCready's breathing, then Hale ain't the top of this thing. Hale's the public face. McCready's the knife. I know it. And McCready knows you. I know that too. Jack. Tom's voice dropped. Jack, he knows your face. He knows this ranch. He knows the white barn. I know Tom. Then why in God's name? Because where else was she supposed to send the child? Tell me. Where else in this whole rotted county was she supposed to send her? Tom said nothing. There was nowhere else, Jack said. Sarah knew it. That's why she sent her here. She knew it was the last place they'd look, 'cause it's the first place he'd expect. He'd think she was smarter than that. He'd think she'd send the child to a stranger. So she sent her to the one man in the territory who knew the shape of the whole thing from the inside. That's thin Jack. It's what she had. Emily was watching them, spoon halfway to her mouth. She had gotten as far as eating the broth and then stopped when the grown men started talking about her mother. Jack, she said. Yes, darlin'. The man with the line. He's still alive. Yes, Emily. I believe he is. And he's the one looking for me. Yes. She set the spoon down. I want to tell you something else. All right. Mama had 2 books. The room went quiet. 2, Emily, Jack said carefully. Yes, sir. Where's the other one? She buried it. Where? Under the juniper, behind our house. She said if one book wasn't enough, the other one was. She said the first one was the numbers, and the second one was the names. All the names. Tom closed his eyes. All the names, Tom repeated. Yes, sir. Jack sat down on the floor in front of her. He took her small hand in his. It disappeared inside his palm. Emily, your mama, she was a wonder. You know that? I know. Could you find the juniper again? I know where it is. Could you tell me where it is? I could show you. That's darlin', I can't take you back there. Why not? Because that's the first place he'll be waitin'. She thought about that. Then draw me a map, she said. I'll tell you where. Tom made a small choked sound that was either a laugh or something closer to a sob. 5 3/4, he muttered. Lord in heaven. Jack got up. He fetched a scrap of brown paper from a drawer, a pencil stub. He laid them on the settee beside her. Show me Emily. She drew. Clumsy, childish lines. A square for the house, a scribble for the creek, a lopsided circle for the juniper, arrows, distances, little numbers, 3 feet, 10 feet, 20 paces. Your mama taught you this too, Jack said. She said I had to be able to send people places without being there myself. She taught you for this, for right now. Yes, sir. Tom stood at Jack's shoulder, looking down at the map. Jack? Yeah. You can't ride for that juniper. I know. He'll be watching that place every hour of every day till he's got her. I know Tom. You send a man he knows, that man don't come back. I know. So who do you send? Jack looked at the map a long time. A stranger, he said finally. A man whose face nobody in this county has ever seen. And where you gonna get one of those? Cheyenne. Tom's eyes narrowed. Jack, you ain't thinking what I think you're thinking. I am. Jack Hollis Ward don't work for free, and Hollis Ward don't work for men he's fallen out with. He'll work for me on this. Why? Because he owes Sarah Carter a life, and because I know exactly what he owes her for. Tom stared at him. Jack Callahan, he said softly, how many dead people you got on your books I never knew about? A few, Tom, a few. Emily was watching them again. Not afraid. Just watching, taking in the measure of the grown men deciding the shape of her life. Jack, she said. Yes, darlin'. Am I safe here tonight? He crouched in front of her one more time. He put both hands on the settee either side of her small body, so she was framed inside his arms, without being held. Emily, I am going to tell you the truth. You ready? Yes, sir. You are safer here tonight than you have been in 3 weeks. But you are not safe. There is no safe in this county until the man with the scar is in a grave or in a cell. You understand? Yes, sir. So here is what we are gonna do. Tonight you sleep. Tom is gonna stay. I am gonna watch the road. Doc is gonna come back tomorrow. And then we are gonna move you somewhere I do not yet know about, which is why the man with the scar does not know about it either. Okay? And Emily, yes, sir. You are not alone anymore, not for a minute, not for a breath. You hear me? Yes, sir. Say it back. I am not alone anymore. Good girl. He stood. He turned to Tom. Tom, you got your rifle? On the saddle. Bring it in. Bed down in the kitchen. First shift's mine till midnight, then I'll wake you. Fine. Jack turned toward the door to go fetch Tom's horse to the barn. He had his hand on the latch when the dog started barking again. Different this time. Not the one-rider bark, the many-rider bark. The bark he'd heard twice before in his life, and both times men had died inside the hour. Tom was already moving. Jack slid the bolt the rest of the way home. He turned from the door. His voice dropped to almost nothing. Emily? Yes, sir. You remember what your mama said about the porch step? Yes, sir. This house don't have a porch step hollow, but it has a root cellar. Tom'll show you. You go down, and you do not come up for any voice but mine or Tom's or Doc Harlan's. No matter what you hear up here. No matter what. You understand me? Yes, sir. Go, darlin'. Go now. Tom scooped her up, satchel and all, and was gone through the kitchen before Jack had finished speaking. Jack stood alone at the front room with the rifle in his hands and the dog barking and the sound of hoofbeats coming down his road. He counted, not 2, not 3, 6. He thumbed back the hammer. All right, Mr. McCready, he said softly to no one. All right. The hoofbeats stopped 30 yards out. Too close for courtesy, far enough for cover. Jack eased the rifle up to his shoulder and waited. Callahan. The voice carried clean across the yard. Riggs, the white smile man from the morning. Callahan, come on out and make this easy, sir. Jack did not come out. Mr. Callahan, we got paper on you now. Paper from the county judge. We got the right to
This
search
story
this
was
property,
posted
sir,
on the channel
and we
The
aim to
Rusty
do it
Saddle.
with or
Please
without
do
your
not
blessing.
repost it in any form.
Jack cracked the door an inch. No more. Show me the paper, Riggs. Come on out and I will slide it under the door. A pause, a murmur of voices. Then boots on the porch, one set, and a folded paper pushed through the gap at the threshold. Jack picked it up without taking his eye off the gap. He unfolded it one-handed. He read the signature at the bottom. Judge Elias Prentice. Page 9 of the ledger. He didn't even need to check. He knew. Sarah had written it 100 times over, tiny and careful, a ghost pointing at a living man. Riggs? Yes, sir. This paper ain't worth the ink on it. Sir, your judge is a bought man. Your warrant is a bought warrant. And I am not a bought man, Mr. Riggs. You tell that to whoever's paying you today. A long silence. Then Riggs's voice and the smile was gone from it. Callahan, step out on the porch. We can have a talk like civilized men. I can hear you fine from here. We know there's a child in that house, sir. Jack's hand went tight on the rifle. How do you know that? We just do, sir. Somebody tell you. Sir, the easy thing here, the thing where nobody gets hurt, is you open that door and you let us take her. She's got kin in town. Mr. Hale, his own self, has taken an interest. She'll be fed. She'll be clothed. She'll have a bed with sheets. Whatever you think you're protecting her from, sir, you got it backwards. Riggs. Sir. You tell Mr. Hale, and whoever's standing behind him, that any man who sets boot on my porch uninvited today is gonna leave it on a board. You understand me, sir? Callahan, there's 6 of us. I can count. Sir. And Riggs, count again. It was Tom's voice, behind the house. From the little slit window that looked out on the ridge, a rifle barrel poking clean through. That's 7 to 6, Riggs, Tom called. And one of you 7 is facing the wrong way. Another pause, longer. Who is that? Riggs called. A friend, Tom said, with a clean bead on the man in the gray duster. Out in the yard, the big man Bo, the one who'd stood behind Riggs at dawn, took one slow step sideways without meaning to. Don't move, son, Tom called pleasantly. I don't want to, but I will. Jack allowed himself one small breath. Riggs, ride off. Come back with real paper and a man I respect and we'll talk. Come back the way you came today, and we will not. This ain't over, Callahan. No, sir, I imagine it ain't. A muttered order, saddle leather creaking, hooves turning. Jack watched through the crack until the last rider cleared the cottonwoods. Then he sagged against the doorframe and shut his eyes for exactly 1 second. Tom. Still here, Jack. Get her up. On my way. Jack heard the cellar hatch creak, heard Tom's low coaxing voice, heard the small bare patter of Emily's feet on the kitchen floor. She came around the corner with the satchel strapped crosswise over her small body like a soldier's bandolier. Are they gone? She said. For now, darlin'. You didn't shoot them. Not today. Would you have? He looked at her. Yes, Emily, I would have. She took that in with the same flat seriousness she took everything in, and then she nodded once like a partner confirming a plan. Tom came in behind her, wiping dust off his hands. Jack, I know, Tom, I know. We can't wait for Doc. Every hour we sit here is an hour they're working us. Get Emily's satchel stowed tight. Get that ledger off the table. Get water in the canteens. We ride at dark. Where? Jack looked at the ceiling for a beat, thinking. Old Miller place. Nobody's been up there since Miller went in the ground. That's a half day. It's a half day they don't expect. All right, Jack, all right. They moved. Tom in the kitchen, Jack in the front room, sweeping anything Emily shaped out of sight. The blanket, the small plate, the damp cloth he'd used on her temple. Emily stood in the middle of it all with the satchel clutched to her chest and watched. Jack. Yes, darling. You look scared. He paused. He crouched to her. I am scared, Emily. Grown-ups aren't supposed to say that. Grown-ups who lie to children are the worst kind, sweetheart. You ask me if I'm scared, I'm going to tell you yes. I'm gonna also tell you scared don't mean beat. You understand? Yes, sir. He stood. And the dog barked again. One rider, coming fast. Jack was at the slit window before Tom could call his name. Not them, he said. Not the same horse. Jack, quiet. He watched. The rider was small, thin in the saddle, coat too big, hat pulled low and dark. It was the set of the shoulders that stopped him. I'll be, he murmured. Jack. Tom, don't shoot. Don't shoot whatever happens. Jack who? Don't shoot. The rider pulled up outside the gate, did not dismount, raised one gloved hand palm out and held it. Then the rider called out in a voice Jack had not heard in 6 years. Jack Callahan. It's Rose Brennan, Sarah's sister. I am alone, and I am armed, and I will not come in until you tell me to. Jack's hand dropped from the rifle. Lord in heaven, he breathed. Jack, Tom said. Jack, who is that? Let her in, Tom. Let her in. He was out the door before he finished saying it. She swung down as he came off the porch. She was a small, hard-jawed woman, maybe 40 years old, with Sarah's same grave eyes and a dark bruise on the side of her neck no powder could cover. Rose. Jack. How did you... Oh, she wrote me 2 months ago, Jack. She said if anything happened, if it ever come to it, she'd sent the child to you. She said your name and a white barn in Wyoming. That was all I had. It took me 6 days to get here. Rose, I know she is. Her voice didn't break. It just went level in the way a voice goes level when there isn't any softness left in a person. I knew it the day I got her last letter. She knew she was dying when she wrote it. She was telling me where to look for what was left. Jack opened his mouth and shut it and opened it again. Is the child? She's inside. Thank God. Come on in quick. She followed him in. Tom was in the kitchen doorway with the rifle still up, not because he didn't trust her, but because he hadn't been told yet to stop trusting himself. Tom, ease up. This is Rose Brennan, Sarah's sister. Tom lowered the rifle. Ma'am, he said. I'm sorry for your loss. Rose nodded at him without looking at him. Her eyes had already found Emily. Emily was standing in the middle of the front room. Her small hands were knotted on the satchel strap. She stared at Rose and did not move. Oh, baby. That was when Rose's voice broke just for a second, like a single board snapping in a long floor. Aunt Rose, Emily whispered. Yes, baby. It's me. It's me. Emily walked across the room toward her. Not a run. A walk. Like she was afraid if she ran too fast, this grown-up might turn out to be a dream too. Rose dropped to her knees, and the little girl walked into her arms. And for the first time since Jack had found her in the hay. Emily cried the way a child is supposed to cry, loud and wet, and with her whole small body shaking. Jack had to look away. Tom had to look away. Rose held her niece and rocked her and did not say hush, and did not say, there. She said over and over, I got you, baby, I got you. After a while, Jack didn't know how long it felt like a very long time, and no time at all. Rose lifted her face. Mr. Callahan. Jack. Jack, how much time do we have? Not much. Then I need to tell you some things quick. Go ahead. She set Emily gently back from her, wiped the child's wet cheek with a gloved thumb. Sarah didn't just send Emily to you. Sarah sent me here too. She told me the name of the man we are running from. She said you would know him. Jack's throat tightened. Rose. She said his name was Reuben McCready. The room went so quiet, Jack could hear the coals settling in the cold hearth. Tom whispered, God Almighty. She said, Rose went on, and now her voice was steady as a nail, that you knew him, that you had ridden with him, that he had done a thing to you 3 years ago, that you had never stopped paying for. She said if I told you his name, you would understand everything you needed to understand in the space of one breath. Jack stood very still. He stood still for a long time. Then he turned and he walked to the window and he put a hand flat against the wall, and he bowed his head. "Jack," Tom said. "Tom." "Jack, who is this man to you?" Jack spoke without turning. "Reuben McCready was my partner. Pinkerton's, 7 years. We rode every case from Laramie to Denver." "Jack, 3 years ago McCready sold us both to a cattle syndicate under investigation. I didn't see it, or I wouldn't see it. I don't know which Tom. I have not known which for 3 years. When I finally did see it, I went to confront him and he was gone, ahead of me by a day. He got to my wife before I could get home." Tom made a small sound. "Mary was 6 months along, Tom." "Jack, don't. Jack, don't, Tom."
This story was
Don't you
posted
say
on
a
the
word.
channel The Rusty Saddle.
He stood
Please
at the
do not
window.
repost it in
Nobody
any form.
spoke. Then a small voice. "Jack?" It was Emily. He turned. She was standing at Rose's knee, one small hand on her aunt's sleeve, the satchel still across her chest. "Jack," she said, "is that why Mama sent me to you?" He couldn't speak for a moment. "I think so, darlin'." "Because he did a bad thing to you, too?" "Yes." "And you didn't catch him?" "No, Emily, I did not catch him. And Mama thought you'd catch him this time." "Your Mama," Jack said, and his voice came out raw, "thought better of me than I ever thought of myself. Then catch him this time." He looked at her. "Yes, ma'am," Jack Callahan said. "Yes, ma'am, I will." Rose touched Emily's hair and stood. "Jack, there's one more thing." "Go on." "Sarah had help. In her last 2 weeks, she wasn't alone." "Who?" "A federal marshal out of Denver. Name of Holcomb. He's the reason she got the ledger finished. He's been riding a separate trail on Hale for 18 months. He was supposed to come get her and the child. He was 3 days late." 3 days. Yes. Where is he now? "Here, in Wyoming. I rode past him yesterday and we spoke 10 minutes at a relay station. He's coming, but he is coming alone. He cannot bring a posse because he does not know which lawman in this territory is clean and which is bought. He is one man Jack, one man and a badge." Jack absorbed that. "Rose, when will he be here?" 2 days, 3 at most." "We don't have 3 days." "I know it." "We might not have 3 hours." "I know it, Jack." Tom stepped forward. "Jack, we got to move her tonight, like you said. Old Miller Place sundown." Tom. "Sundown, Jack." Yes, sundown." Rose looked between the two men. "I am going with her." "Rose?" "I am going with her, Jack. I did not ride 6 days to hand her to you and walk off. Wherever that child goes, I go. You understand me?" "I understand you, ma'am." "Good." Jack turned to Tom. "Tom, I need you to do something for me." "Name it." "Ride south, hard, find Holcomb, cut his 3 days in half. Bring him to Old Miller's tomorrow night, not the day after, tomorrow." "Jack, that's a ride?" "I know what it is. That horse of mine ain't gonna—" "Take mine, take the bay. He'll hold." Tom looked at Jack a long moment, then he nodded. "All right, Jack, all right." He went for his hat. Emily reached out and caught his sleeve. "Mr. Tom." "Yes, 5 3/4. "Ride careful." Tom crouched. He put his old apple-dried face close to hers. "You know what, ma'am," he said. "I've been riding a horse 61 years. Today, I'll ride careful as I ever rode." She nodded gravely, accepting the promise. Tom straightened. He clapped Jack on the shoulder. He was gone. Jack turned to Rose. "We ride at sundown. 2 hours. You rest. The child rests. I'll stand the watch." "Jack, you ain't slept in." "I ain't sleeping tonight either, Rose. Rest, please." She nodded once. She led Emily to the settee and sat with her. Emily's eyes were already closing against her aunt's shoulder when she murmured something Jack almost didn't catch. "Jack?" "Yes, darlin'." "There's another name." He went still. "Another name, Emily. On page 15, Mama said to tell you last. She said save it for last because it would hurt the most." "Tell me, sweetheart." She said the man on page 15 was a friend of yours. Jack felt his heart slow down to where he could count the beats. What's the name? Emily? Dalton. Jack closed his eyes. Dalton Kerr. Yes, sir. Rose looked at him. Jack, who is Dalton Kerr? Jack did not open his eyes. Dalton Kerr is the federal marshal out of Cheyenne. Not Holcomb. Not Holcomb. Dalton Kerr is the man above Holcomb. Dalton Kerr is the man who signs Holcomb's orders. Dalton Kerr is a man I have known for 12 years and trusted with my life 3 separate times. Rose breathed out. Oh, Jack. And if Dalton Kerr is on page 15 of that ledger? Jack opened his eyes. Then Holcomb is riding into a trap he does not know he is riding into. And Tom is riding after Holcomb. And I just sent Tom out my door to find a man whose boss is bought by the man who killed Sarah Carter. The room went silent. Rose stood up slow. Emily lifted her head from her aunt's shoulder, sleep already fogging her face, and blinked at the grown-ups. Jack, Rose said. Jack right after Tom. I can't leave you. Jack. I cannot leave her, Rose. I cannot. If I ride out that door and they come back, you are one woman with 1 pistol and a 5-year-old child. Then send me. You don't know the country. I'll learn it. Rose. Jack Callahan, you listen to me. My sister is dead. My niece is alive. I did not come 1,000 miles to sit behind a door while you ride out to save one more man. You stay with her. I will ride after Tom. I will find him before he finds Holcomb. Rose. Do you have a fast horse left, Jack Callahan? He looked at her. He looked at the child. He looked back at her. In the south stall, he said. Black mare. Her name is June. Then I am taking June. She kissed Emily's forehead. She stood. She put her gloves back on while she walked to the door. Rose? She paused with her hand on the latch. Yes, Jack. If Kerr is on that list, there may be others. There may be more names on pages I have not yet turned. You don't trust a badge, you hear me, not one. Not for a drink of water, not for a change of horse. I hear you, Jack. And Rose? Yes. Bring him back. Bring Tom back. I will. She was gone. Jack stood in his front room. He listened to June's hoofbeats fade down the road. Emily's small voice said, Jack. Yes, darling. Are we alone now? He walked to the settee. He sat down beside her. He lifted her small body onto his lap, the way a man lifts something impossibly fragile and impossibly precious at the same time. No, Emily, he said. We are not alone. Tom is out there. Rose is out there. Doc is in town. Your mama is watching. And I am right here. I am right here, darling, and I am not going anywhere. She curled into his chest. Her small fingers found his sleeve and closed on it. Jack. Yes, Emily. Tell me his name. The man with the line. You said you'd tell me when you were certain. Are you certain? He looked down at her. I am certain, Emily. Then tell me. His name is Reuben McCready, and I am going to put him in a grave or in a cell before the week is out. I am giving you my word, Emily Carter, on my life, on your mama's name. The little girl in his arms did not smile. She only said, good. And then for the first time since he had found her in the hay, Emily Carter closed her eyes and slept without a hand on the satchel. Her hand rested on Jack's instead. He sat unmoving in the graying light, the weight of her against his chest, the weight of 12 dead names in the next room, and the weight of 3 years of silence breaking open inside him, one slow breath at a time. Jack let her sleep exactly 40 minutes. No longer. It nearly killed him to wake her. Emily, darling. We got to ride. She opened her eyes and did not ask a single question. She only nodded and sat up and reached for the satchel before she reached for her boots. Good girl, quick as you can. He rolled a blanket. He pulled 2 canteens off the peg. He took a second pistol from the drawer and slid it into his belt behind his back. Jack. Yes, Emily. Are we running or are we hiding? Both, darling. Both at once. Mama said those are 2 different things. Your mama was smarter than me. Tonight we are doing 'em both anyway. He saddled the roan in the dark, not a lantern lit. He strapped Emily into the seat in front of him, with a length of latigo across her small body, so she could not fall if he needed both hands free.
This story was
saddle
posted
horn.
on the channel The Rusty Saddle.
am.
Please do not
Hold it
repost
with
it
both
in any
hands.
form.
I am Jack. Good. He eased the roan out of the yard at a walk. Not the road. The old cattle trail behind the barn, the one a man had to know was there, or he would not find it. They rode an hour before Jack let himself breathe. Jack? Yes, Emily. Where is old Miller's place? Up the ridge. Hour more. Who was old Miller? A man I knew. He ran cattle up here till a sickness took him. House stood empty 6 years now. Nobody goes up, nobody thinks about it. Good. That's what I figured. She was quiet a while. He could feel her small body against his chest, warm, not shaking anymore. Then, Jack. What if Aunt Rose don't find Mr. Tom? Then she'll find somebody else. Your aunt is a woman who rides until she finds somebody. What if they hurt her? Emily. Emily. I will tell you something. People ask what if about the folks they love when they are scared. It is natural. But what if don't save nobody? What saves folks is the people who are riding for them. Your aunt is riding for Tom. Tom is riding for a marshal. I am riding for you. We are a chain, darlin'. We are a chain, and a chain holds. She thought about that. Mama used to say chains get broken. She did. How come you say they hold? He almost laughed. Because I am riding at the front of this one sweetheart, and I am hard to break tonight. He felt her nod against his coat. They did not speak the rest of the way up. The old Miller place stood cold and black against the ridge. Jack circled it twice on the roan before he dismounted. He checked the yard for fresh sign. He checked the door for fresh touch. He checked the windows. Nothing. Nobody had been here. Come on, darlin'. Let's get you inside. He lit one candle. One. He set Emily on a dust-gray pallet in the back corner where no bullet from any window could find her. Eat. He pressed a hunk of bread and a strip of salt pork into her hands. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. That's an order 5 3/4. She ate. Jack sat with his back against the wall, his rifle across his knees, his eyes on the single window that faced the trail. Jack? Yes, Emily. How long do we wait? Till tomorrow night. Till Tom and Rose and Holcomb ride up that trail. Or till somebody else does, in which case you go under the floor and you stay under the floor no matter what you hear. I'll show you the spot soon as the candle's steady. Okay. Eat, Emily. She ate. Meanwhile, miles to the south, Rose Brennan had pushed the black mare harder than a black mare ought to be pushed, and she had caught Tom Beasley at the relay shack on the Graybull Road. Tom. He turned in the saddle and his face went white. Rose. Lord God. Tell me she's with Jack. She's fine. Tom, listen to me. I have 10 seconds, and so do you. Go. Dalton Kerr is on the ledger. Page 15. Jack says he signs Holcomb's orders. You cannot ride to Holcomb and just hand him the story. You hear me? Tom stared at her. Kerr is bought. Kerr is bought. Then Holcomb may be clean, or Holcomb may already know and be riding us into a hole. Jack don't know which. Tom took his hat off and slapped it once against his thigh. God in heaven, Rose. A man can't hardly ride a straight line in this country no more. Where were you headed? South Fork of the Powder. He was supposed to make for a line shack there. 2 days' ride. Can we cut him off clean before he rides into something we can't pull him out of? We can try, if we ride through the night. Then ride. Rose. Ride Tom. He swung back into the saddle. She was already moving. They rode. Back at the old Miller place, the candle had burned down an inch, and Emily was asleep again on the pallet, and Jack was still against the wall with the rifle on his knees when he heard it. A single hoof. Not 4. Not 2. 1. A horse walking. He was on his feet without a sound. He crossed to the window and put one eye to the gap in the shutter. A rider, coming up the trail slow, hat pulled down, coat dark. Jack eased the rifle up. Then the rider 50 yards out lifted one hand above his head, palm out, and held it. And then he stopped, got off the horse, set something on the ground, got back on the horse, rode 30 yards back down the trail, stopped again, sat the horse, waited. Jack didn't move. 10 minutes passed. The rider did not come closer. He did not reach for a gun. He sat his horse and looked at nothing. Jack looked at Emily. She was out, dead asleep, the bread still half in her fist. He eased the door open. "Stay there," he called softly. "Don't come closer." "I ain't coming closer, Jack." The voice stopped his heart for a full beat. "Jack Callahan. It is Dalton Kerr. I am unarmed above the saddle. My rifle is in the scabbard. My pistol is on the ground by my feet. I come to talk, and I come alone, and I come knowing you got a ledger in that house with my name on it." Jack did not speak. Kerr waited. "Jack, I rode 2 days to find you. I did not tell Holcomb I was coming. I did not tell the office I was coming. My horse and I are the only 2 souls in this territory who know I am here, and the horse don't talk." Kerr. "Yes, Jack." "One question. Answer it true, and I may let you live through this conversation. Ask. Did you know about Mary?" The silence that came after that was a full minute long. "Jack? Answer me. I knew McCready took money. I did not know what he was going to do with it." Kerr. "Jack, on the soul of my mother, I did not know what he was going to do. I knew he was bought. I did not know he was a murderer, not until after. And after I was a coward. I am telling you that plain. After I kept my head down because I was next on his list and I knew it. I kept my head down for 3 years, and I took a little money on a little paper that looked small to me, and I told myself it was small. Is that what page 15 is, Kerr, small money? Page 15 is $700 on a land transfer I did not read close enough. $700? Yes. Sarah Carter died for $700, Kerr. Sarah Carter died because McCready and Hale have 1,000 pages of other men's $700, and she was the only person in Wyoming who had put the whole shape of it in one book. Jack stood in his doorway. "Why are you here, Kerr?" "Because Holcomb is riding into something that is not what he thinks it is." "Go on." "Holcomb thinks he is riding to meet the Carter child and the Callahan man. Holcomb thinks I am 3 days behind him with a federal warrant. I am not. There is no warrant. I never filed it. McCready knows Holcomb is riding. McCready arranged it through me." Jack's hand tightened on the rifle. "You sold Holcomb." "I sold Holcomb 3 days ago." "Yes." "Kerr, I am here to tell you because I am taking it back." "You cannot take it back." "I can if you let me, Jack." "Why?" "Because last night I wrote my wife a letter and I sealed it, and I gave it to a boy in Laramie with $1, and I told him if I was not back in 10 days, he was to write it to her. And when I sealed that letter, I sat down in a chair, and I knew what kind of man I had become, and I knew I did not want to die that kind of man. So I got on my horse, and I rode." Jack said nothing. "Jack, I have one thing left of value. I know where McCready will be tomorrow sundown. I know because he told me. He told me because he thinks I am his. I can walk you to him. One chance. After that, I am a dead man either way, because when McCready knows I am here, my life is over by the weekend." Kerr. "Yes. If I trust you, and you are lying to me, what happens to that child in that house?" "She dies, Jack." "Yes. I know it." "Then tell me why in the name of God I should trust you." "Because I am not asking you to trust me. I am asking you to use me. Point me like a rifle. I will walk in front of you into whatever room McCready is in. You walk 3 steps behind me with your gun up. If I turn on you, you shoot me in the back. That is the deal, Jack. That is all the deal I got left." Jack stood in his doorway. He stood a long time. Then he said, "Get off the horse. Walk the rest of the way. Hands where I can see 'em. Leave the pistol on the ground." "Yes, Jack." Come in slow. If my finger twitches, it is because I have decided something. Yes, Jack. Kerr came in slow. Jack patted him down at the door like he was a stranger instead of a 12-year friend. He found a folding knife in Kerr's boot and a derringer at the small of his back, and he took them both. Sit.
This story was posted
Kerr
on the
sat.
channel The Rusty Saddle.
Emily.
Please do not repost
The
it in
small
any
voice
form.
from the corner said, "Yes, Jack." She was awake. She had been awake since the first hoof. Of course she had. "Emily, come here, darling." She came. She came with the satchel. She came and stood beside Jack's leg, and she looked at Dalton Kerr with the same flat, careful eyes she had used on Tom and on Rose and on every other stranger who had crossed her path since her mother died. "Emily, this is a man I have known a long time. His name is Dalton Kerr. He is on page 15 of your mama's book. You understand?" "Yes, sir." "I'm going to ask you something hard. You tell me the true answer. You ready?" "Yes, sir." "Look at this man's face. Take your time. Do you know him? Have you ever seen him before tonight, at your house, with the man with the line anywhere?" Emily looked. She looked a long time. Dalton Kerr did not move. He sat with his hands palm up on his knees, and he let a 5-year-old girl decide whether he was going to live to see sunrise. "No," Emily said at last. "I never saw him." "You're certain?" "Yes, Jack." "All right, darling." He set the rifle down beside his chair. Not far, not out of reach, but down. "Kerr." "Yes, Jack." "Tell me about tomorrow sundown." Kerr nodded slow. "McCready is meetin' Hale at the Pinewood Relay Station, 8 miles south of here. They are meetin' to split cash, $31,000. Hale is bringing it in his own coach because he don't trust couriers anymore. McCready is coming with 4 men, that is all. 4, because the meet is secret even from their own crew. Why'd they tell you? Because I am the lawman who is supposed to be escorting Hale that afternoon. I am supposed to ride ahead and clear the road. I am supposed to make sure no U.S. Marshal is within 20 miles of that station. 4 men plus Hale plus McCready. Yes. 6. Yes. And one of us is a child. Jack, I am not saying ride and shootin'. I am saying I can put you in a position where you can watch them exchange the money. I can put you close enough to hear names. I can put you close enough that when Holcomb rides up, and he will, because I am not calling him off, he is riding up to a scene he can bring a case on. A real case. A federal case that does not die in county court. Jack thought. Kerr, if you are lying... I know, Jack. I know. Jack turned to Emily. Emily, I want you to tell me what your mama would say right now. Emily looked at him. Mama would say. She said slowly, that a man who comes to confess is not the same as a man who never came at all. She would say, use him. She would say, watch him. She would say, shoot him if he turns. Jack looked at Kerr. Kerr had closed his eyes. Your mama, he said softly, was a hell of a woman, Emily Carter. I know, Emily said. Jack stood up. Kerr, you sleep on the floor by the door. I sleep against the wall with the child. My rifle is on my lap. You do not stand up without saying my name first. You do not so much as turn over without saying my name first. We clear? We clear, Jack. Tomorrow at noon we ride for Pinewood. Yes, Jack. Emily rides with me. Jack. I am not leaving her in an empty house 8 miles from where 6 men are about to start shooting. Jack, you are taking a 5-year-old child to a... I am taking her somewhere I can see her. That is where she is safest. Don't argue me on this, Kerr. Not tonight. Kerr did not argue. Miles south and east Rose Brennan's black mare was near foundered, and Tom Beasley's bay was blown, and both riders were leaning forward in the saddle with their teeth bared against the wind when Tom finally pointed. Rose, there. A single lamp in the line shack window. He beat us there. He beat us there. Tom, is that him? That is Holcomb's horse. I'd know that paint anywhere. Then ride. They rode the last half-mile flat out. Tom hit the door with his shoulder before he'd come all the way off the horse. "Holcomb, Holcomb, stand down, it's Beasley." A lean, gray-eyed man of maybe 50 came up out of a chair with a pistol halfway drawn and froze. "Tom, don't shoot, son." "Tom Beasley, what in the name of—" "Holcomb, listen and do not interrupt me. Kerr is dirty." Holcomb's face did not move. "Say that again, Tom." "Dalton Kerr is on the Carter Ledger, page 15. I wrote 11 hours to tell you before you rode into whatever Kerr has set up for you. There is a child with Jack Callahan up the ridge past Graybull. Her name is Emily Carter. Sarah Carter died getting the ledger to her. The ledger is real. McCready is alive. Hale is a puppet. Kerr has been playing you." Holcomb stood with the pistol half drawn for a long moment. Then he holstered it. He sat back down in the chair. He put his face in his hands. "I knew," he whispered. "I knew something was wrong. I knew it for a year." "Holcomb." "Tom, I knew." "Holcomb, come with us. Now. Ride with us to Callahan. Bring whatever men you trust." Holcomb lifted his head. "There are no men I trust, Tom. That is the hell of it. There are me, and there is a telegraph operator in Cheyenne who owes me his life, and that is my entire federal posse in this territory. Then it is me and you and Rose Brennan's son, and we ride tonight." Holcomb looked at Rose for the first time. "Ma'am? Marshall? You are Sarah Carter's sister." "I am. I am sorry for your loss. I am more sorry than you will ever know." "Then get on your horse, Marshall." He got on his horse. Back at the old Miller place, the candle had guttered. Jack sat against the wall. Emily slept against his shoulder. Dalton Kerr lay on the floor by the door with his hands folded on his chest, like a corpse laid out for viewing. "Jack?" "What, Kerr? Are you going to sleep tonight?" "No, Kerr, I am not." "I figured. Go to sleep, Kerr." "Yes, Jack." Kerr closed his eyes. Jack did not. He sat with the child breathing soft against his collar, and the rifle across his knees, and the weight of tomorrow's sundown coming at him like a train down a grade. 8 miles south. 6 armed men. One bought Marshall on his floor. One clean Marshall somewhere in the dark to the east, riding with the only 2 people in Wyoming Jack still believed in. And a 5-year-old girl on his shoulder who had carried the whole rotted shape of it 100 miles across open country in a leather satchel, because her mother had told her to. Jack bent his head. He pressed his lips once to the top of Emily's matted blonde hair. "I ain't gonna fail you, darlin'," he whispered so soft only the candle could have heard. "Not you. Not your mama. Not this time." Emily stirred. Her small hand tightened on his sleeve. She did not wake. Jack lifted his head. He watched the door. He waited for sunrise. Sunrise came thin and gray through the cracks in the shutters, and Jack Callahan had not moved. Emily stirred against his shoulder. "Jack." "Yes, darlin'. Is it tomorrow yet?" "It is today, sweetheart." "Is he still here?" She did not look at Kerr. She did not need to. "He is still here." "Did he turn?" "He did not turn." Kerr opened his eyes at that. He sat up, slow, hands flat on the floor where Jack could see them. "Jack." "Kerr, I did not turn. I know it. Can I stand up?" "You can stand up." He stood up. He stretched his back like a man who had slept too many nights on too many hard floors. He looked at Emily. "Mornin', Miss Carter." "Mornin', Mr. Kerr." "You are a serious little girl." "Yes, sir." "Your mama would be proud of you." Emily looked at him a long moment. "I know," she said. Jack set her down off his lap. He stood. He went to the window. He looked out at the trail. Empty. "Kerr, eat something. We ride at noon." "Yes, Jack." They rode at noon. Jack went in front with Emily strapped to his chest. Kerr rode a length behind, hands visible on the reins, a single unloaded pistol at his hip for show. 8 miles. They did not speak the first 4. At the 5th mile, Kerr said, "Jack, if this goes bad, it will not go bad. If it does. Kerr, if it does, the last thing I need from you is a speech. You hear me? I hear you. Then shut your mouth and ride. Kerr shut his mouth. They reached the ridge above the Pinewood relay station at 4:15. Jack dismounted. He eased Emily down. He crouched her behind a low rise of rock where no line of sight from the station could reach her. Emily.
This story was posted
Yes,
on the
Jack.
channel The
You
Rusty
stay
Saddle.
here.
Please do
You
not
do not
repost
move.
it in any form.
You do not call out. No matter what you hear, no matter what. If you hear shootin', you lay flat on your belly and you put your hands over your ears. If I do not come back up this ridge by sundown, you stay right here till Aunt Rose finds you. She will find you, Emily. She will. Yes, sir. Say it back to me. I stay. I do not move. I do not call out. If you don't come back, I wait for Aunt Rose. Good girl. He started to turn. Her small hand caught his sleeve. Jack? Yes. Come back. He crouched. He took her small face in both his rough hands. Emily Carter, I will come back. On your mama's name, I will come back. He kissed her forehead once. He stood. He did not look back because he did not trust himself to. He and Kerr left the horses tied on the far side of the ridge and came down on foot through a dry wash that cut toward the station. Halfway down, Jack froze. A single low whistle. 2 notes. He answered it with 3. Tom Beasley stepped out from behind a cottonwood with a rifle in his hands, and behind him came Rose Brennan with the black mare's reins looped on her wrist. And behind her came a lean, gray-eyed man with a Federal star pinned inside his coat. Jack, Tom said. Tom? This is Holcomb. Marshall? Callahan. Time's short. Brief me. Jack briefed him. 6 sentences. Kerr, the meat, the money, the 4 men plus McCready plus Hale. Emily on the ridge, the ledger in Jack's saddlebag. Holcomb listened. When Jack finished, Holcomb looked at Dalton Kerr. Kerr met the look. Dalton. Sam? You sold me. I did. You unsellin' me. I am. Why? Because I wrote my wife a letter, Sam. Holcomb looked at him a long moment. All right, Dalton, he said at last. All right, today you ride with me. Tomorrow I put you in a cell myself. Yes, Sam. Now let's go take these sons of bitches. They came at the station from 2 sides. Tom and Rose on the east with the rifles. Holcomb and Jack on the west on foot. Kerr walked straight down the middle of the trail with his hands loose at his sides because Kerr was the key that was supposed to open the door. McCready's 4 men were posted exactly where Kerr had said they would be. 2 at the corral, 1 on the roof, 1 in the doorway of the station itself. Hale's coach stood in the yard. Kerr walked up to the man in the doorway and said, "Where's he at?" "Inside, countin'." "Tell him I'm here." The man turned his head to call. He never finished turning. Tom Beasley's rifle spoke once from the east ridge, and the man on the roof went down off the roof without a sound. The man in the doorway started to draw. Jack stepped out from behind the water trough with his pistol already leveled. "Don't." The man did not don't. The man drew anyway. Jack shot him in the shoulder. He went down screaming. The 2 at the corral broke for their horses. Rose Brennan dropped the first one clean at 60 yards with a rifle she had borrowed from Tom 4 hours earlier. The second one made it to his saddle. Holcomb rode him down from the west at a dead gallop and laid him out with the flat of a pistol barrel before the man could clear leather. And then there was a long, terrible silence. And out of that silence walked Reuben McCready. He came through the door of the station with his hands at his sides and the long scar down his cheek silver in the afternoon light, and behind him came a fat, gray-haired man in a broadcloth coat who could only have been Victor Hale, and Hale was holding a leather satchel in both hands like a man holding an infant. McCready looked at the bodies. He looked at the 4 men standing with rifles up. He looked at Jack. He smiled. "Jack Callahan," he said. "Been a while. Reuben. You look old. I am old Reuben. You here for me or for the money? I am here for a little girl. You come through the door with your hands on your head, and I will let you see trial. You come through any other way, and I will drop you where you stand. That is the deal." "That is a thin deal, Jack." "It is the only one I am making." McCready's smile widened. "Jack, you always were a soft man. It is what I liked about you. It is also what killed your wife." Jack's hand did not tremble on the pistol. He had waited 3 years to hear those words spoken out loud. He had thought when he heard them that he would pull the trigger. He did not pull the trigger. He looked at Reuben McCready, the man who had ridden at his shoulder for 7 years, the man who had shaken his hand at his own wedding, the man who had put a bullet in a woman carrying a child because a cattle syndicate had paid him $600 to do it, and Jack Callahan did a thing he had not believed himself capable of. He said, "Hands on your head, Reuben. Last time I say it." McCready's smile did not move. His right hand did. Jack shot him in the knee. McCready went down screaming and clawing for the pistol he had almost cleared from the holster. Jack walked across the yard in 6 long strides, kicked the pistol away, and put one boot on McCready's chest. "You will live," Jack said. "You will live to sit in a federal courtroom. You will live to hear a 5-year-old girl testify about the night you killed her mother. You will live long enough to be hanged legal, Reuben. I am not giving you a quick death. I am giving you the slow one. That is the worst thing I know how to do to you, and I am doing it on purpose." Behind him, Victor Hale dropped the satchel of money and sat down in the dirt and began quietly to weep. Tom got to him first. Tom looked at him a long moment. Then Tom took off his own hat, held it over his heart with one hand, and with the other hand cuffed Victor Hale across the face so hard the older man's head snapped sideways. "That," Tom Beasley said, "is for Sarah Carter, you puffed-up coward." Then Tom put the hat back on and cuffed Hale's hands behind him and hauled him to his feet. Rose Brennan walked across the yard with the rifle still in her hands and stopped in front of McCready where he writhed on the ground. She did not say a word. She only looked down at him a long time. Then she turned her head and spat once clean into the dirt beside his face. "My sister's name was Sarah," she said. "Say it." McCready gritted his teeth. "Say her name." "Sarah," he gasped. "Carter. Sarah Carter." "Good," Rose said softly. "Now you know it. Now you will hear it in your sleep for however many nights you have left." She walked away without looking back. Holcomb came forward with cuffs. Jack did not move his boot until Holcomb had McCready's hands locked behind him, and 2 fresh men from the East Ridge men Jack had not known were there had come down out of the trees with federal stars on their coats. "Marshal," Jack said, not taking his eyes off McCready. "Who are those men?" "Mine, Jack, out of Denver. I sent word 2 nights ago by the one telegraph man in this territory I would trust with my own children. They rode in an hour before you did. I had 'em in the trees for insurance." "You didn't tell me." "I didn't know who was listening, Jack." Jack nodded once. "Fair enough, Marshal." He took his boot off McCready's chest. He turned. He looked up at the ridge. "Emily," he called. "Emily, darling, it is over. Come on down, sweetheart, it is over." He did not see her come down the slope. He only knew she was there when a small hand slipped into his. He looked down. She was looking at Reuben McCready. She looked for a long time. McCready saw her. His face went the color of old milk. She did not speak. She did not cry. She turned her small face up to Jack. "Jack?" "Yes, darling." "That is him." "Yes, Emily, that is him." "Is he going to prison?" "He is going to prison. Then he is going to be hanged, Emily. That is the law." She nodded, grave as a judge. Then she let go of Jack's hand. She walked 3 steps forward. She stopped in front of Reuben McCready, where he lay in the dirt with a bleeding knee and a federal marshal's cuffs on his wrists. "Mr. McCready, don't you speak to me, girl. Mama said to tell you something." "I said, don't you speak to me." She said, "Tell him I wrote it all down. Tell him a little girl carried it. Tell him we won." Reuben McCready closed his eyes. Emily walked back to Jack and slid her small hand back into his. That's all she wanted me to tell him, she said. Jack could not speak for a full minute. Holcomb hauled McCready upright and walked him to the coach. Hale went with him head down. The four men Rose and Tom had put down were loaded onto the bed of the relay station wagon. The satchel of $31,000 was tagged and sealed and put under the marshal's own saddle.
This story
And
was
the ledger,
posted on the channel, The
leather
Rusty
ledger
Saddle.
Sarah Carter
Please
had
do not
died to
repost
finish,
it in any
was produced
form.
in front of 6 witnesses from Jack Callahan's saddlebag and laid in the hands of Marshal Sam Holcomb of the United States government. Holcomb held it a long moment before he spoke. "Ma'am," he said, and looked at Emily. "This was your mother's work." "Yes, sir." "She finished it." "Yes, sir." "I would like to shake your hand, Miss Carter, if you will allow it." Emily considered. Then she offered her small hand. Holcomb took it in his large one and shook it once gravely, the way a man shakes hands with an equal. "Ma'am," he said, "the United States thanks you." "You're welcome," Emily said. And for the first time since Jack had found her in the hay, Emily Carter smiled. A small smile, a real one. The months after were hard, and they were long, but they were not dark. The trial came in the fall. Victor Hale took 30 years. The judge on page 9, Elias Prentice, took 20. The sheriff on page 12 took 15. Dalton Kerr stood in a courtroom and testified against all 3, and then he walked himself into a federal prison for 8 years on his own $700 count, and he did not complain once. Reuben McCready was hanged on a cold Tuesday in December. Emily did not attend. Rose did not let her. Jack did not go either. They spent that afternoon at Jack's kitchen table, the 3 of them eating biscuits Tom Beasley had brought over. And when the hour came for the drop, Jack reached across the table and covered Emily's small hand with his and said, "It is done now, darling. It is all the way done." Emily nodded once. "Mama knows," she said. "Yes, Emily, Mama knows." The families on the ledger, every last one got their land back. Every one. The federal government moved fast on that part, because the federal government likes nothing better than a clean headline, and the headline here was "Clean as a Whistle, a Little Girl, a Satchel, 1,000 pages of corruption." The newspapers in Chicago wrote it up. The newspapers in New York wrote it up. A lady reporter from Boston rode all the way to Wyoming to shake Emily's hand, and Emily shook hers gravely and answered 3 questions and then went outside to feed the chickens because she was 6 years old now and the chickens needed feeding. Rose Brennan did not go back east. She stayed. She built a small cabin a quarter mile from Jack's place on a piece of land Jack signed over to her one afternoon without ceremony. She took Emily in as her own. Jack never once pressed for more than the arrangement they had, which was that Emily slept at Rose's and ate most meals at Jack's, and that Jack walked her to Rose's every night at dusk, and Rose walked her back every morning at sunrise, and in between the 3 of them lived a small and slow and careful life. Tom Beasley came to supper every Sunday. Doc Harlan came every Tuesday. Nobody spoke of Sarah every day, but nobody went a week without her either. She was in the chair at the head of Jack's table that nobody sat in. She was in the way Emily ordered a sum of numbers in her head before she wrote them down. She was in the small handwriting Emily was already beginning to show in her schoolwork, which was, Rose said one night with tears standing in her eyes, the exact handwriting of her sister at the same age. Jack Callahan did not go back to Pinkerton's. He was asked. He declined. What he did instead that spring was open a small office above the feed store in the nearest town and put up a painted sign that said, J. Callahan Investigations. Widows and Orphans. No charge. The widows and orphans came. He did not refuse a one. On the first truly warm evening of the following summer, a year almost to the day after he had found a 5-year-old girl in his hay, Jack Callahan sat on his front porch step and watched Emily Carter chase a barn cat across the yard with the kind of shrieking laughter that a child who has been through what she has been through is not by rights supposed to still be capable of producing. Rose came out of the kitchen with 2 cups of coffee and sat down beside him. Jack. Rose, she's gonna be all right. I believe she is. I did not used to believe it. I want you to know that. The first 6 months, I did not believe it. I thought we had saved her body and lost the rest of her. I know, Rose. I thought the same. And now look at her. I am looking." They watched her a while. Then Rose said, "Jack." You saved her life." "Rose, she saved mine." "I know that too." He did not answer. He did not need to. After a long while, Emily came running up the porch steps, her cheeks flushed and her hair every which way and a grasshopper in her cupped hands. "Jack, Aunt Rose, look." "I see him, darlin'. I am going to let him go." "That is a fine idea." She opened her hands. The grasshopper sat a moment on her palm and then leapt into the grass and was gone. Emily watched where he had gone. Then she turned and she climbed up onto the porch step between them, and she sat down and she leaned her head against Jack's arm. "Jack." "Yes, Emily." "I was thinking about the book today." "Were you, darlin'?" I was thinking Mama wrote it because she thought nobody would listen to her. That's why she wrote it in a book, because a book you can hand to somebody else." "Yes, Emily, but somebody listened. You listened, and Aunt Rose listened, and Mr. Tom and Mr. Holcomb and Mr. Doc, and the jury listened." "Yes, Emily, a lot of folks listened in the end. So the book worked." "The book worked, darlin'. But you know what I think, Jack. What do you think?" "I think the book didn't work because it was a book. I think the book worked because I carried it. I think if Mama had just mailed it, nobody would have read it, they would have burned it, but a little girl carried it, and nobody burns a little girl." Jack did not speak for a long moment. He looked out across his yard, where a barn cat was now stalking the grasshopper that had just been set free. He looked at the small, solemn 6-year-old face tucked against his arm. "Emily Carter," he said quietly, "you are going to be a wonder of a woman someday." "I know," she said. Rose laughed. She couldn't help it. She reached across Jack's back and squeezed Emily's shoulder. "Yes, baby. Yes, you are." Emily did not smile. Emily almost never smiled at a compliment. But she leaned a little harder into Jack's arm, and Jack felt the weight of her there, the same weight that had lain across his chest a year ago, in a cold, dark house. While 6 armed men rode down his road, and he understood finally and completely the thing he had not understood in all his 3 years of silence on this ranch. He had thought for 3 years that he had been spared to mourn. He had been wrong about that. He had been spared to open the door. Truth does not need power to survive. It does not need armies. It does not need wealth. It does not need the machinery of a corrupted system, and it does not need the permission of the men who run that machinery. It needs only one thing. It needs someone to carry it. Even if that someone is 5 years old and bleeding and hungry and alone and half dead in a stranger's hay. Even then, because the truth carried is the heaviest and the lightest thing in the world at the same time, and a child with a leather satchel can bring down an empire if one old tired man in a white barn is brave enough to open his door at midnight and say yes. Jack Callahan opened his door, and the world changed.